A lot of things, include risk. Nothing's guaranteed. But it's one thing we do know: you have to put the work in to do it. It's only one way to find out. So I think everyone or most people could agree that it's better knowing that you did everything you could, and it went well or it didn't, or whatever the case may be. If you love it, and it means, what you say it means to you, you got to go for it and try to do all you can.
First of all, thank you, Marcus, for taking the time, for preparing the video before the actual interview, and also right now to be part of this. And how did you actually get into basketball?
I started when I was about 6 years old. My older brother and older sister both played basketball, so I went to a few games and ended up having a court outside our house and just kind of started playing, and that's where my love for the game started.
I guess every American athlete's starting point for like an actual career is high school. How was your high school career?
I played 2 years varsity. I went through the whole, regular ranks. So I played freshman, JV, then, my last 2 years played varsity. It ended up, turning out really well for me. It's one of those situations I didn't go into, highly recruited or anything like that, but, I knew I loved the game and, put some work in over the years and was able to have a good outcome.
But did you actually consider being a professional athlete back then?
No, at the time, my main goal was just making the varsity basketball team. I know that it's something I wanted to do, and I felt like I could have been on my sophomore year, but it didn't happen, and continued to work, and was able to have 2 good years my junior and senior year.
Moving from high school to college, you moved from a bigger town to a smaller town. How did you had to adjust, like taking in consideration your lifestyle and also like basketball-wise in college? How was this transition like?
Yeah, my first year, I actually really struggled. It was tough for me to kind of let go of where I had come from. Being away from my friends and family. It was only 3 hours, but with all the basketball stuff in school, wasn't a lot of time to go home. So, my first year, I was kind of to myself. I feel like my next 2 or 3 years, I started to really, build a closer bond with my teammates, and that helped me a lot to get through that process.
Your freshman year in college, how did it went?
For myself, individually, I had a pretty good year, just for a freshman. Played in all the games, started a few. I ended up, I was in the last 2, like the Rookie of the Year running. Damian Lee, who's with the Warriors now, I played with him at AAU, but he won it that year. Yeah. So for myself, it was a really good year, but our team didn't do too well at all. We only won 6 games that entire year.
Yeah, out of 25?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So how do you deal with that, not being, at this point you might have thought about being a professional athlete, being on a, let's say, losing school, this wouldn't bring you in the best position to achieve this goal. How do you process those stuff mentally?
It was my first year, so, I knew it was a big learning curve. I didn't take too much on the shoulders as, it wasn't my team at the time. And, there were a lot of other working pieces that went into it. I actually, loved playing with those guys that year. Some guys we're still in contact with. It just happens sometimes. Every year can't be a great year, and I was a part of that. But I feel like, that really helped me learn and grow a lot coming into the college basketball game. So definitely take it with a grain of salt, but appreciate, having that season and learning from it.
So the following season was pretty similar, right?
Yeah, we won 13 games that year, but so it was a little improvement.
Yeah, so it was improvement, but the actual season after that, 2013, 2014, was a good one, right? You won 20 games.
Yeah, we won 20 games in both seasons. Yeah.
Seeing this type of improvement, how did it affect you as a player also and your personal future path?
Yeah, it definitely just showed me that the proof shows in the work. There's really no way around putting in the work, putting in the time, putting in the hours to really work on your craft and, become the player you want to be, not only to help yourself, but to help your team and, put everyone around you in better positions. So that's just something, I had done since high school and, since getting with my trainer. And I just continue to grow, continue to challenge myself and really just try to stay in the gym and trying to rebuild and, be the best version of myself I can be every day.
Your senior year, you made it to the NIT tournament, is it right? Yeah. So what is this actually about? Because, most of the people going to watch this interview is going to be German people. And let's call it the systems in Germany and in America, they are pretty different. When I talked to George first, man, it was so much to learn from me because it's like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then all again. Yeah. And then there is like a junior team and a varsity team and all that stuff. So the culture is very different. So what is this tournament about and how did it maybe affect your career?
Yeah, so I think most people are familiar with, the big NCAA tournament, March Madness. Yeah. And then like teams that were kind of on a bubble towards getting into the big tournament, March Madness. And some other smaller teams that had really good seasons, have a bid to play in this. It's basically the, consolation, just a smaller tournament, for those teams.
Is it like a play-in tournament?
So the winner of that tournament does, I think, get a bid to March Madness the next year. I still think that's a rule, but I'm not completely sure. But so it is, it can serve a purpose if you go there and do well and come out and win. Before our school, that had never been to the NCAA tournament, and that was big for us. We got to, get on a charter plane first time. For us, we were small school, so we were pretty much busing over commercial flights to games. So that was a good experience, and I'm glad we had the opportunity.
Your upcoming summer, which was the summer of 2015, NBA draft, NBA combine. Did you expect to being invited to the combine at all? Because, and that's something I didn't know before, only 60 players are invited to the combine, right? And only players that are meant to be drafted. So did you expect after your senior year being invited to the combine and then also being drafted, or how did the summer felt for you? Because it should be a life-changing one, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, I just try to stay in the gym, keep myself ready for, whatever could happen. But outside of that, I wasn't expecting to be on the NBA draft combine list. Yeah. I got the letter, got the word that, I'd been invited, was excited about it and was, grateful I had another chance, show myself and put my best foot forward for the draft. But prior to that, I hadn't been on like any, internet draft boards for real or anything like that. So, I knew I had a chance and felt like I had a chance once we got to the individual workouts and stuff. But the combine was definitely big and I was able to show well there, and I think that really helped in leading me to getting drafted.
So you actually did 13 workouts during that summer for different NBA teams, which I guess that's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? Because I imagine the United States is a pretty big country, and you gotta be on the plane all the time, staying in hotels, not being home, and how do you deal with that? And all the pressure being there.
Yeah, it's a grind, man. It's a grind. You're really not there too long, and they fly you in, and you probably stay in a hotel for the night. The next day, you're up in the morning. You're starting your workouts or your measurements or whatever it may be. You just got to be locked in. This is the moment. Every player dreams of, and it's what you work for. So it's just a mental thing. A mental thing. You got to really lock in and focus on what you're trying to accomplish and. Do what you need to do and, enjoy the process. It's a once in a lifetime thing. You only go to the combine once. That draft process only happens one time. So you definitely want to take it in and, try to make the most of it.
Leading up to the draft, if I would have been in that situation, I would have watched the whole thing, from pick 1 to pick 60th. Yeah. And you told me another thing.
Yeah.
What did you, in contrast to that?
Yeah. I didn't want to have, a big watch party, have everybody watching, and I knew I'd probably go in the second round, so I knew, I think the first round was the first hour, then second round was another hour. I knew it would be a long night, and so I just told everyone, I just wanted to kind of be by myself. My parents actually went to the draft. They had a connect, I think it was in Brooklyn, so they were there, and I just told my friends, man, just leave my phone alone. The only call I want tonight is if it's that call, and if not, we'll move on and get to the next thing. But so I just was in the house by myself, man, watching Netflix. And lo and behold, I got the call from my agent, let me know. So it was a great moment. I was definitely excited about it.
How did your first day as a drafted NBA player felt like? Because I remember talking to George, and he said it was late at night, and he had he got a call from the franchise, and they told him you got a flight at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Better be there.
Yeah.
And how was your first day being drafted?
Yeah, so Boston, they actually gave us the weekend. You know, they didn't rush us in, so I was able to celebrate a little bit, you know, with friends and family. Then I think we flew in on a Monday morning. And the first day, we get there, go to the facility. You know, the GM, Danny Ainge, calls us all in the office, all the draft picks. You know, the first thing he says to me is, you know, "Oh, Marcus, you're probably going to be, you know, in the G League or overseas," which was a shock to me. You know, not anything I was expecting to hear. You know, my first day in the building, you know, we hadn't even done the interview yet, I think, with the media. So that was a tough pill to swallow. But you know, I was the fourth draft pick. Two other guards went before me, and then the third pick was another forward that was early second round. So you know, that was kind of the situation.
How did you dealt with the situation? Because imagine you're going to the office and you might have been really exciting, what is the GM going to talk to tell us? Yeah. And first thing he says is, Marcus, to put it in the most negative way, you're out. Yeah. You're not going to be here. And that's something you've been working for so long. How do you deal with that?
You know, for the bulk of my career, you know, in every situation from high school on to professional, you know, I've had to work. You know, haven't always been put in best situations maybe, or you know, just had to put the time in and continue working. You know, in any situation, whether it's good or bad, you know, I've realized that, you know, you can't cheat the grind, and put in the work and the time is really the best way to answer and the best way to respond to those situations. So just trying to keep my head down, stay humble, and you know, just work for the next challenge like I've been doing.
Yeah. So what happened next?
So they didn't have a roster spot that year. So, you know, just with talks with my agent, I opted to go overseas to Sydney, Australia. That was my first professional season, first time being overseas. And that was an up and down season too. We had a lot of injuries and a lot going on, but I definitely loved being out there. Sydney, Australia was amazing, beautiful place, and the league was good too.
You played first division, right?
Yes.
How was the transition from being an NBA guy to being the overseas guy, coming to another country, another continent, playing there? Has there been a huge difference in that, or was it kind of easy for you?
No, it was tough, especially that first time. You know, Australia's a long way away as well. Yeah. So very long flight. The time difference is crazy, so that was an adjustment. And yeah, you know, especially early on, you know, there was a lot of questions from people who just wanted to know what was going on. Oh, you got drafted. Why are you here? Why is this going on? Blase, blase. You know, just a lot of stuff that people don't realize, the inner workings of, you know, an NBA team or what's going on between just the organization and the players. But again, you know, I haven't always, you know, had the best hand dealt to me, and I just try to work and keep pushing, man. You love something and you want to do it, you know, you got to be all in. So complaining, you know, doesn't really get anyone anywhere. So just try to work through and, you know, get to where I want to be ultimately, just putting the time in each day.
Yeah. Your next country, and we're going to talk about a lot of countries, has been Italy.
Yeah.
And I remember that you said that this was a really culture shock. Mm-hmm. So you want to say something about this?
Yeah, for sure. You know, in Australia, the seasons are flipped, at least from America, I think, here too. But it was summertime for that season, so it was warm the entire time, you know, beaches and everything. And then in Europe, you know, still, you know, winter. My apartment was a lot smaller. The city was a lot smaller. You know, no one spoke English. So that was my real first time, I feel like, you know, understanding the European side of overseas basketball. And I hadn't imagined that, especially coming from Sydney, Australia, where I just had a really nice setup and everything was a lot more plush, I guess. Mm. Yeah.
And also more American, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
The language is the same, and I think culturally it's not the same, but still similar.
Yeah, there's some similarities.
And then going to Italy, it gotta be a huge difference, especially if you never have been in Europe.
Yeah.
How did the season went for you and the team?
Yeah, we didn't have a great year that year. Coach ended up, I think, leaving the team towards the close to the end of the season, we had a couple player changes. But we weren't able to stay in the league, which was big. We had been struggling all year. The team was, very worried about moving down. And, obviously as the players, we were trying to make playoffs and also not move down, all in one stroke. And we figured it out, towards the last 5 or 6 games. We had some big wins and were able to stick out.
Something you said is that this has been the first time you ever understood what not moving down means. Did this change something in you? Understanding that staying in this league at this level is not for granted, so you gotta really push hard to stay there?
Yeah, for sure. I wish I had learned that sooner that year, but by the time I did learn, I did understand, the severity around it, what it meant for the club and the history of the club, and what these people are building and working towards every year. And sometimes as players, especially over here, we change teams a lot. We're not in one place for long. Just all depends. But that year you're there, you don't want to be a part of the reason that happened. So you take it seriously, and you want to play for the fans in that country and make everyone proud.
In 2017, you moved back to the States and played G League. Mm-hmm. I hope we can talk about this because I didn't knew it, but your paycheck for playing a G League season is 25,000, right?
Yeah, the year I played, it was 2 contracts mainly, a 25,000 one and then a 19,000 one the year I played. Each team, they have an A contract and a B contract. Oh, yeah. And I think 2 or 3 players get the A contract and then the rest get the B contract.
Thinking about how long a season will be and then splitting this down to how much money you actually get, it's not that much. And also if you compare it to NBA money, and just to me this was new, and I want to share this information because there is something else coming up in the conversation, so people can just put this into perspective on what it means to actually be a G League player, because I think most people think that's the next thing to the NBA. And I don't think that the gap between let's say BBL and Pro A in Germany is that big as NBA and G League. So you played for Canton, which is the farm team for the Cavs, right? Yes. How did the season went for you? What happened there?
We started out a little rough. I started out a little rough myself. Just getting adjusted to coming from overseas, adjusting back to American style of play and NBA style of play. But not too long into the season, I was able to get going and starting to have a really good year. As a team, we were kind of up and down, didn't do that great. I think we missed the playoffs. But for me, I was able to showcase myself pretty well. Got invited to be with the USA team for some of the FIBA games. Got a call up, so some good things happened to me in the G League and playing that year.
Being with the USA team, I think there's a story behind it, and I want to get into this. What happened, when you made it to the USA team? What happened next?
Yeah, so I got to the USA team. We had practice in Houston. We, I think, flew somewhere and was getting somewhere in Cali. Had just got to the hotel. We had a game the next day. And I get a call from my agent. And he says, the Cavs are about to call you up. You're going to get a 10-day contract. So I hadn't even played a game with the USA team. And they rushed me on a red eye, back to Cleveland.
Which means you will play NBA for 10 days,
10
right?
days.
Be part of the team.
Yeah, be part of the team for 10 days. So take a red eye. They fly me back to Cleveland, sign a 10-day contract. Next thing I know, I'm in a car headed back down to Canton, Ohio, with the G League team. And they just told me, during your 10-day tenure or time with the team, you're going to be spending it back in the G League, right back where I was. So that was tough too, man. I just got with the USA team, excited about playing in that, representing my country. And then, I was excited about the call up too. Okay, at least, I'll be with the team and, get my feet wet. Then as soon as I got back, they sent me back to the G League. So
for no reason, actually, there's no.
Who knows? You never know. They definitely didn't explain the reasoning with me, but it is what it is, and that's part of it. That's, like you said, something that people don't know. That goes on behind closed doors in that business.
Yeah, and talking about the 10-day, because it was crazy to me that you're making 19 or 25,000 for a season in the G League. But you get a lot more for playing 10 days NBA, right?
Yeah.
So are you comfortable giving us the insight on how much you made during those 10 days, because I don't want to talk about money and like how much money you got and all that stuff. That's not the thing. But I think people mostly undervalue or underestimate what other persons are going through. And I mean, mostly you're in a really like privileged situation. You can be a pro athlete, you see a lot of the world and making good money and all that stuff. But still, like for me, contrast having like a 10-day contract, 10 days, that's like 3 days more than a week. And contrast to like a whole season. Like that's been like mind-blowing somehow. So would you maybe explain like the differences for that?
Yeah, no, it's big time. You know, pretty much all the guys in the G League, I would say, have aspirations, you know, obviously to get to the NBA, but, you know, to play well and give themselves, you know, a chance at a call-up, because, you know, that makes your season in terms of your exposure, you know, what you're trying to get to, and money-wise, too, it helps with the situation. And other than that, you're also trying to play, you know, maybe to be seen by overseas teams, and, you know, that's also another paycheck. So you're betting on yourself when you're playing the G League for sure. I definitely think it is a good route to get to the NBA, but it's a sacrifice you have to make on the other end, and, you know, you can make it happen, and things fall in place. It's one that's well worth it. So, yeah, definitely a part of the grind.
And going back to like being called up and not playing NBA, how did you dealt with this adversity? Because thinking about being drafted, and first thing you hear is like, you're not playing. And then like having the actual like phone call, you're going to play NBA, which, I mean, 10-day means you're going to play NBA most of the time. And then still arriving there, signing the contract and going back to the G League. How do you deal with those type of setbacks?
Yeah, it's tough, man. Especially, you know, I think a lot of the other guys that had signed the 10-day around that same time, you know, they were playing or up with the teams, sitting on the bench at least. But again, you know, what can you do? You know, the business side of it isn't always pretty. It doesn't always go in your favor. So when I got back to the G League, just try to, you know, keep playing well, and I have nothing to gain if, you know, if I stop playing well after I got a 10-day contract, and, you know, that was it. So just try to focus on, you know, continue to have a good season, and keep getting better, and, you know, we're on to the next challenge. You
then actually played for Team USA, right? After the G League thing?
Yeah, I got another opportunity to go back with the USA team for another one of the FIBA games, and got to play in the games we played in Mexico and Cuba, which was, you know, really exciting. You know, definitely was proud to represent my country, put on that USA jersey. That was, you know, definitely a milestone for my career. And, you know, I just felt blessed, you know, that I got another opportunity, a second chance, you know, to finish that out. You know, I practiced with the one group and didn't get to go because of the 10 days. So I'm definitely grateful for that.
So you moved to Turkey after playing in the G League, right? So how did you feel about going there? I think it gotta be pretty hard for a player to know where the season could head to, because you basically don't know anything about Turkey or the Turkish league or the club. So what were you thinking about at that time?
I was excited. I was excited to get to Turkey. You know, they have a really good league out there. You know, that team had done well in recent years. So I was excited about going, and, you know, excited for a new challenge, new opportunity to show myself and improve. And I think that's the only coach I've ever had that didn't speak English. So that was another, you know, another tough barrier. But we didn't start the season off great. A few games in, I think I was only there about maybe 3 or 4 months, all of preseason and maybe the first month or so of the season. And then, you know, they decided to let me go. So it was just tough, because I like being in Turkey. I thought it was a great country, and, you know, I wanted to be there for the year. So, but yeah, it was a tough situation.
Talking about the contract thing in Turkey, because that's something also I didn't knew about, to be honest. Maybe you explain, like, when they come to you and say we want to like cancel the contract, what is happening then? Could you say no, because we signed a contract, I don't want to go? Or how does this actually work?
Yeah, so you know, they let me know that they wanted to let me go, and you know, I had a guaranteed contract, but you can decide to stay and, you'll get your money, or you're supposed to get your money at least. But, they can just make you practice.
But you won't play.
Yeah, you won't play. Yeah, you won't play. So, and it was pretty early on in the season, so I felt like I had a good chance, to land on another team and finish out the year. So I didn't opt to do that. And but I still, should have received or, wanted, most of my money. But it came to a situation where, they wanted a separation agreement, which was fine. But they kind of chose the money amount and put it in terms, okay, like, if you don't sign for this amount that we want, we're not going to release your rights to play for another team. So then I would be stuck, So, I had to make a decision. I opted to, just sign with what they wanted to let me go with, so I could be free and, join another team.
So you decided to leave and you went to South Korea, right?
Yes. Left there, came home for a little bit, went to South Korea. I came maybe middle of the season, closer to the end. So I was only supposed to be there for 3 months. I was in Seoul, South Korea, great city. I loved it there. The food was pretty good. My first game, I get kicked in the shin, like first 3 minutes of the game, and I'm limping the rest of the game. I keep playing. I try to do what I can. I don't play that great. We lose, and the team had me, get an MRI on my leg. And, I found out I had a small fracture, actually 3 small fractures in my left shin. And that was the first time, I had an MRI on my shin. I knew I was in a little bit of pain, but I didn't know it was that serious. So I ended up having to leave there after a month, after finding out I was, significantly hurt and was going to need some time off.
This has actually been your first major injury, right?
Yeah.
And we've now been talking about a couple different seasons and clubs, and you never actually took days off, right? Yeah. So you've been playing a lot, you've been practicing a lot, and one season is over, you're going to start the next one. I imagine there's got to be a lot of pressure and maybe people in business talk about burnout when they got a lot of on their plate, a lot of stuff to do. And is this something that would apply to a professional basketball career also?
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure a lot of guys, understand this and have been through that, especially, positions like myself, where, you're trying to make your way and, whether it's the NBA or overseas, as you just continue to try to rise the ranks, you find yourself kind of always playing, you don't want to pass up on opportunities just because, it may be during your break time. These are opportunities that don't come around all the time. Yeah. So you try to make the most of them. Obviously you want to be smart about it, but if you can and you are able, you want to try to keep putting yourself out there, and the more you're seen, the better. So
having this injury and being out, how do you deal with that? Sitting out and resting and not being able to do anything because it's gotta heal. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that was tough for me. Like you said, first major injury, first time I really had to considerably, not work out, not really be able to do anything. And just they would tell me just stay off your leg, just stay in the boot, rest. Just tried to turn to the next thing, focus-wise, that can just keep me locked in and, not get too far away from, what I'm trying to accomplish and everything like that. Just doing what I could, I could still lift. So I tried to, do that, focus on my body more, pay attention a little bit more to my diet, just kind of find other things to technically distract you, but still, are making you better, all in the same. So just having that mental toughness, man, it's a sport, this comes with it. So, you got to love it, and I love every part of it.
But where do you get this mental toughness from? I mean, we've been talking from high school to now. And every time you said you put in as much work as you could and make the most out of it. And I think that's a mindset that's not pretty common. So where does this mindset come from? Is it something that's natural to you, or has it been through circumstances from your parents, or where you've been living, or how does this happen?
I think it's just the circumstances, just revolving around basketball, like you said, at every challenge, that I've been turned down or turned away, or, whatever the case may have been. I've been able to, push through those doors, or, still get through to the next level, just continuing to work and, focus on how can I keep improving myself and being the best version of myself, every step of the way from all angles, and time and time again, I see the results and, I just something I strongly believe in and, lucky for me, it's been proven to work as well.
Is there an actual advice you would give somebody who's maybe struggling? I think most of us been there, like doubting themselves and having those self-doubts on like what the future going to look like. I mean, looking back, it's easy, but looking at the future, it's pretty hard. Is there any advice you would give somebody?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of things, include risk. Nothing's guaranteed. But it's one thing we do know, you have to put the work in to do it. It's only one way to find out, So I think everyone or most people could agree that, it's better knowing that you did everything you could, and it went well or it didn't, or whatever the case may be. But if you know you didn't, give it everything you had and, really try to your fullest extent, that's something you'll be looking at in hindsight and, maybe regretting as well. So if you love it, and it means, what you say it means to you, you got to go for it and, try to do all you can.
So maybe people gotta find stuff they really love and they really got a flame in there too.
Yeah, that plays a big role too.
Yeah. Moving on from your interview, you played the 1920 season in France. Again, same thing, expectations being in France, first time there. How was it?
Yeah, I was excited about that team too. Throughout this whole process, I feel like I've been really blessed with really good teammates for the most part, and it was another good group that I had in France. And they hadn't done too well the previous 2 seasons, but still had some guys from those teams, and with the new guys coming in, we felt we had a really good team and won our first game, beat a respectable team in the league. Everyone was excited about that, the team, the club, the fans. And then next few games we lost. Then maybe around the 4th or 5th game, they already threatened to send people home, saying, oh, this isn't good enough, whatever their feelings are about how we're playing. And, that was a shock to me only because it was just so early in the season. I felt like, damn, how could y'all be giving up on the team already? It's a long season. We're trying to figure it out. Everything doesn't always start off so great. Basketball is a game of runs, and the seasons can be different types of runs in terms of up and downs or whatever throughout the month. So, that was the start of the France season.
And how did it move on? So I wrote down that did the coach step down?
It was a little bit towards the end, maybe end of February, early March. But we had some good games. I had some good games. We lost some games we should have won. We weren't in danger of being out of the league, but we were kind of up and down, kind of the bottom, middle pack. A few games away from playoffs. But the coach ended up stepping down. A new coach comes in, and whatever their reasons, I don't know if it was the coach or the organization, but I just really wasn't a part of their plans moving forward for that team that season. So the first 2-3 games that the new coach coached, I hardly played and even sat out a game, didn't even dress. So again, a new situation, what can you do? I'm not the first guy that's happened to, it's a part of it. And you try to do what you can and not be in that situation, but it can't happen.
Now coming to the thing I guess people are most excited about, the 20 and 21 season, the Chemnitz season. So how did you get in contact with Chemnitz? Has this been going through your agent or same thing? What have your expectations been?
Yeah, my agent gave me a call. He let me know, about the team, how well they did the year before. They were moving up, be a new team in the BBL. He spoke to me about the coach. He said the coach had been familiar with me a little bit from college, or had seen some college clips, and really believed what I was able to do in the court, and wanted me to be a part of the team. So I talked with my agent, and I talked with Coach Rodrigo as well. The conversation went well. We felt like we were on the same page, and I was excited about coming here.
Anything special he was saying to you? Because something I've heard from a lot of other players is that he I mean, there's this we over me thing over here in Chemnitz, so it's not about like an individual player, but about like the team itself. But still, he wants to help improve everybody, like make them better. Is this something he said to you too?
Yeah, for sure. You know, he said he wanted to help, you know, in any way he could. You know, he believed in me and, you know, my ability to play. He also, you know, was talking about me playing point guard. You know, this is my first season full-time playing point guard. You know, I've pretty much been a combo guard most of my career, you know, playing 1 and 2, but mostly 2. But I felt strongly about playing point guard for some time now. You know, I'm comfortable playing that position. For sure, Coach Rod has helped, you know, and it's been big for me to be able to do that this year and, you know, and have my teammates back me as, you know, one of the leaders on the court.
Yeah, and maybe talking about the new position you have. Again, a lot of people wouldn't know how hard it could be because we don't have the experience in being actually on the court and being in such a situation. And I remember George also said that for him, it's been kind of tough, like the adjustment to the European basketball. And I think that especially you and George, you've improved your game like a lot in this season. Is that something you would confirm?
Yeah, I know I definitely have learned. You know, I think George, like you said, George just said so too. For me, you know, like I just said, you know, playing the point guard position full time and, you know, first time doing that and just taking it in stride and, you know, try to keep working and improving and getting better and being able to help, you know, the team and, you know, myself all in one. And George as well, you know, like you said, just, you know, more adjusting to the European game, the style of play. Definitely a lot of differences. You know, Coach Rod and Coach Daniel, they've been there every step of the way. You know, of course, all of our teammates too. You know, we just try to stay together no matter what and, you know, push each other and try to build, you know, the best we can.
I remember the Bayern Munich game where you had the assist to DJ, which for me is Chemnitz basketball. Like, what's different over here? Yeah. Do you want to like, let us know how those type of games feel? I mean, especially the Hamburg thing where you're bringing the ball and then you almost like lose it, but still like manage somehow to keep the ball and then like doing the buzzer beat. How do you have so much confidence in yourself?
That's what you work for, man. I mean, those situations, you know, you really can't imagine any other way. You know, that's what all the time you spend, all the shots you take, all the shots you miss, all the shots you make. That's what it comes down to. You know, I think everyone that plays basketball, you know, pictures themselves and, you know, does like a fake countdown in their head when they're shooting around or practicing or whatever. And, you know, that's where the work and putting the repetitions in, man, that's what it gets you, you know. And I know a lot of guys really grind and, you know, put their all into this and really work hard on their craft. You know, we you know, take being a pro serious. So just a testament to the work and, you know, a blessing from God that I'm able to do so.
Man, actually, I wish like fans could have been here for those games.
It'd been crazy.
You cannot even imagine. And for me, it's also kind of a sad thing, not only for the fans, but also for the players, because I think like this whole atmosphere in here, it's really unique.
It's a different experience with the fans, for sure. Yeah. Completely different experience.
But I think it's also different to like a lot of other arenas. Like people over here, they are ultras, they are crazy. Yeah. Like they are like everyone is almost a diehard fan. And I really wish you guys could have felt the atmosphere, like the people cheering. And do you notice stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. No, this is definitely something special to be a part of. You know, what you all with the Niners have been building, you know, for the last 5 years or so. And like you said, you know, it's definitely rewarding to see it grow each year and, you know, continue to get bigger and get better. I think it's good that I get to have this experience and, you know, try to make the most of it.
Talking about your future and personal life, you're 28 now?
Yeah.
And what do you want to do after basketball?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure yet. You know, I'm interested in some Amazon web servers and stuff. Working right now, kind of in between and trying to get a certificate. I'm going to get a couple different certificates. Doing some investing. Definitely try to keep, you know, keep my head up on that and stay involved. And outside of that, I'm not really too sure.
Do you think about being a business owner someday?
Yeah, I can see that for myself. You know, not something I have a blueprint of right now, but you know, something I can definitely get into, and you know, we'll see what the future holds. Definitely open to it.
Anything you want to talk about, or you want to say?
I Just about chemistry this year. Definitely appreciate how the fans have welcomed me and embraced me, and even that they haven't been able to be here this year because of Corona and everything. I know a few games they were outside in the parking lot. One of our road trips, they were waiting in the snow, just to wave and send us off, and we're there when we got back. All that stuff is definitely appreciated, and doesn't go unnoticed. And again, just grateful. They've embraced me and have welcomed me to this season, and it's been good.
Do you get a lot of fan feedback?
Yeah, it depends where you are. For sure, some teams have better fan bases, and I've definitely been a part of some teams where those big fan bases can turn ugly. If you're not having a great season, and so.
Have you ever been in a situation?
Yeah. When I was in Italy, man. For Pesaro, very passionate fans. Like I said, we were in danger of moving down that year. They weren't too excited about that. Rightfully so. But they show their passion. Whether it's on the internet or screaming at us. At home games, booing us in the third quarter. That was crazy. I couldn't believe that, man. But fans are passionate, not always right. They're humans too, but definitely been in some of those situations.
Yeah, Marcus, so thank you very much for taking all your time, for the preparation and also for the actual interview. We've been sitting here for a good amount of time, so thank you very much, and also for all the deep insights in your personal life. And I also want to thank you all the viewers for watching this video. We really appreciate all the feedback, so let us know in the comments if there's anything we can improve or anything we should change up. And I hope to see you also on the next one.